The desk lamp throws harsh shadows across 40 years of research notes. Paper everywhere. Books stacked like
It's
fragile
not the
towers.
end, you know?
The kind of
It
chaos that
feels
looks
like it.
purposeful
We'll
until
figure
you
it out.
realize it's just
Together.
chaos. Marcus Aldridge sits at 3 in the morning, pen hovering over blank paper. He's been sitting here for 2 hours. The memoir won't write itself, but apparently he won't write it either. His hand moves, stops.
It's been a
Moves
long
again.
day.
Yeah,
Chapter 1,
but
The
it's nice
Paradox
here.
of Rest in
It is.
Pre-Industrial
Some things don't
Societies.
change.
I'm glad.
He crosses it out. His phone buzzes before he can try again. 3:17 in the morning. Montana area code. Nobody calls at 3:17 unless something's wrong. Grandpa, the voice cracks on the second syllable. Young, male. Familiar in that way voices are familiar when you haven't heard them in months, but you grew up hearing them every Sunday. Eli. Yeah, it's me. I'm sorry. I know it's late. I didn't know who else to call. Marcus sits up straighter. Where are you? At Greyhound Station, Missoula. They kicked me out. Who kicked you out? School, well, the dorm, but basically school. Eli is 19, sophomore at University of Oregon, political science major. Good grades last, Marcus checked. But Marcus hasn't checked in 6 months because he's been busy with the memoir that isn't getting written. What happened? Static on the line. Then Eli's voice smaller. I couldn't do it anymore, Grandpa. I couldn't keep going. Marcus closes his eyes, sees his grandson. Hasn't seen him in person in almost a year. Time does that thing where it compresses and he can't trust his memory anymore. You at the station now? Yeah. Stay there, I'm coming to get you. He hangs up before Eli can argue, stands, his knees protest. 67 years of gravity taking its toll. Keys, wallet, coat. The memoir can wait, has been waiting for 5 years. The drive to Missoula is dark and empty, Montana in October. The kind of dark where headlights feel presumptuous. Marcus drives and thinks. Eli couldn't keep going, neither could Margaret. Different reasons. Same result. Margaret died at 62. Heart attack. Sudden. The kind where 1 minute you're loading the dishwasher and the next minute you're on the floor. The doctors called it a widowmaker. Massive coronary. Nothing anyone could have done. But Marcus knows better, has known better for 5 years. Margaret worked herself to death. High school principal. 28 years. First one there, last one to leave. Work home every night. Midnight emails. 5 a.m. budget reports. She died on a Tuesday. Marcus was at a conference in Chicago, presenting a paper on feast day economics in 14th century France. He got the call during the Q&A session. 5 years. Still can't finish the memoir because finishing it means admitting what it's really about. The Greyhound Station in Missoula is exactly what you'd expect. Fluorescent lights, plastic chairs bolted to the floor. One attendant behind bulletproof glass who stopped caring about humanity sometime during the Clinton administration. Eli sits in the corner, backpack at his feet, hood up, looking at his phone like it might contain answers. Marcus almost doesn't recognize him. The kid's grown, broader shoulders, different posture, but something else too. Something in the way he's folded into himself, making his body smaller. Marcus has seen that posture before. On Margaret. Those last few months when she'd come home and just collapse. Eli. The kid looks up, stands, tries to smile, fails. Hey, Grandpa. They don't hug. The Aldridge men aren't huggers. You eat, not hungry. Asked if you eat, not if you're hungry. Eli shakes his head. There's a place on the way home, 24-hour. Not good, but open. You'll eat. The diner is called the Sunrise. Has been since 1952. Hasn't seen actual sunrise in its windows since someone built an office complex next door in 1987. They sit in a booth, red vinyl seats held together with duct tape. A waitress appears, 70 if she's a day. Name tag says Dolores. Coffee. Marcus nods. Eli hesitates, then nods too. Dolores pours without asking what they want to order. Just waits. Eggs, Marcus says. Scrambled, toast, bacon, same for him. She writes nothing down, walks away. You want to tell me what happened? Eli tears a napkin into small pieces. I already told you. Panic attack. School said leave. So I left. Before that, Eli finally looks up, eyes red-rimmed, the kind of tired that sleep won't fix. I was in the library, 3 in the morning, had a paper due at 8, hadn't slept in 2 days because I had midterms, was running on coffee and those energy drinks that probably give you cancer. And I was reading the same paragraph over and over, and the words weren't making sense, and I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten a real meal or talk to someone who wasn't asking me for something. He stops, takes a breath, and I couldn't breathe. Like actually couldn't breathe. My chest hurt, my hands went numb. I thought I was dying. Security found me on the floor. The food arrives. Marcus picks up his fork, waits until Eli does the same. They eat in silence for a minute. Then Marcus says, "Your grandmother died the same way." Eli stops mid-bite. "Grandma had a panic attack." "No, but she died from the same thing that caused yours. Working too much, resting too little, body finally saying enough." Marcus sets his fork down. "She died loading a dishwasher, alone in our kitchen, while I was at a conference talking about the importance of communal meals in medieval society. The irony isn't lost on me. What would you do different? Everything. Nothing. I don't know." Marcus drinks cold coffee. "I've spent 40 years studying rest. How medieval people built it into their calendar. How they had over 100 feast days a year. How they stopped work when the sun set and didn't feel guilty about it." He looks at his grandson. "And I couldn't tell my own wife to slow down. Can't finish my own memoir about rest because I'm too busy working. You see the problem. So we're all just broken by not broken, trained to believe rest is weakness, that stopping is failure. So what do I do, Grandpa?" Marcus doesn't answer right away. Watches the sky through the window start to lighten. "You come stay with me. Take some time. Figure out what you actually want instead of what you think you're supposed to want. I can't just stop everything." "Why not?" "Because I have responsibilities. I need to. I should." Those are interesting words. I have, I need, I should. Notice what's missing. Eli waits. "I want. When's the last time you did something because you wanted to?" The question hangs there. Eli doesn't answer. Can't answer. They drive back as the sun comes up. The house is 40 minutes outside Missoula, middle of nowhere, which is most of Montana. 2 bedrooms, 1 office, study filled with books, kitchen that hasn't been updated since 1987. Margaret's things are still everywhere. Her coat on the hook, her reading glasses on the side table, her coffee mug in the cabinet. Marcus never put them away. 5 years of meaning to. He shows Eli to the guest room, same room Eli stayed in when he'd visit as a kid. "Sleep as long as you want." "What time is it?" Marcus checks his watch. 6:30. "You going to sleep?" "Not yet. Have some work to do." Marcus closes the door, goes to his study, sits at the desk, stares at the blank page. His phone buzzes. He almost ignores it. Then sees the name. "Naomi Rourke." He answers. "Marcus, I know it's early, but I found something you need to see." Naomi's voice has that edge it gets when she's excited about something that doesn't make sense. Marcus met Naomi 30 years ago at a dig site in Turkey. She was finishing her dissertation on Roman bath culture. He was researching labor practices in the Eastern Empire. They bonded over shared misery and bad coffee. She's retired now, sort of. The kind of retired where you still go to conferences and review papers. What kind of something? The kind that's either going to make us famous or make us look like idiots. Possibly both. "I've been looking like an idiot for 40 years. I'm comfortable with it." "Good, because this is going to sound insane. You know the old Thornton property up in the mountains past Great Bear?" Marcus knows it. Abandoned ranch. Family left in the 70s. "What about it?" "New owners hired a survey team, ground-penetrating radar, found a structure, underground, stone, sophisticated stone, the kind of sophisticated that doesn't belong in Montana in any century." Marcus leans forward. "How sophisticated?" "Roman bathhouse sophisticated." Silence. "That's impossible." "I know. Romans never made it to North America. There's no evidence." "I know. So either your survey team is wrong, or someone built a very elaborate fake, or we're missing something, which is why I need you." Marcus should say no, should focus on the memoir, should help Eli. Should. He looks at the blank page. The grandson sleeping in the next room who collapsed from doing all the things he should. "When can we see it?" "Tomorrow, if you're free." "I'll be there." He hangs up, sits in the silence. Margaret working herself to death. Eli collapsing from exhaustion. Marcus unable to finish a memoir about rest because he can't stop working. And now an impossible Roman bathhouse in Montana. A structure dedicated to rest. The universe is either very subtle or completely unsubtle. He goes to the kitchen, makes real coffee, the good stuff Margaret used to buy. While it brews, he opens the pantry, Pulls out eggs, bread, cheese. He hasn't cooked breakfast in 5 years. Easier to eat whatever requires minimum preparation. But Eli needs to eat, and Marcus needs to do something with his hands that isn't typing or writing. The eggs sizzle in the pan. He finds a rhythm. Crack, whisk, pour. Actions that require attention but not thought. When did he and Margaret stop making breakfast together? He can't remember, can't pinpoint the moment it went from regular to rare to never. Life just accumulated. Work filled the spaces. Eli emerges around 9, hair pointing in multiple directions. He stops in the doorway, stares at the kitchen table. 2 plates, food on both. You made breakfast. Seemed like a good idea. They eat. Don't talk much. The eating itself is the point. After Marcus says, I have to go look at something tomorrow. Research thing. You can come if you want, or stay here. What kind of research thing? Possibly nothing. Possibly something interesting. Eli considers. Is it work or interesting work? Is there a difference? Yeah, work is the stuff you have to do. Interesting work is the stuff you want to do, but call work so it sounds productive. Marcus smiles. First real smile in he doesn't know how long. Interesting work, definitely. Then yeah, I'll come. His phone rings. He checks the screen. His daughter, Eli's mother, Rachel. Marcus hasn't talked to her in 3 months, maybe 4. Not out of anger, just drift. He answers, Rachel. Dad, hi, is Eli with you? Yeah, he's here. Oh, thank God. The school called me. Said he left the dorm. I've been trying to reach him for 2 days. Marcus looks at Eli, who's suddenly very interested in his empty plate. He's fine. He's staying with me for a while. What happened? They said something about a medical incident. Panic attack. Exhaustion. He needed to stop, so he stopped. Silence on the other end. Then Rachel's voice tight. I can't deal with this right now, Dad. I'm in the middle of a major case. Partnership review in 6 months. I need Eli to figure this out and get back to school. Marcus hears it. The same tone Margaret used to have. The same edge of someone running on empty and angry about being interrupted. He's not going back. Not right now. He needs rest. He needs to finish his degree. He can rest after. That's what your mother said. She rested permanently at 62. Sharp intake of breath. That's not fair. It's true, and Eli's heading the same direction. So he's staying here. He's resting. And you should think about doing the same before you end up like Mom. I don't have time for this conversation. I know. That's the problem. She hangs up. Eli looks up. She's mad. She's scared and exhausted. Same thing your grandmother was. Will she be okay? Marcus doesn't know. Hope so. But hope isn't strategy. Maybe, if she figures it out in time. That night, Marcus tries something he's only read about. The 2-sleep cycle. He goes to bed at 9. Earlier than he's gone to bed in years. Expects his brain to race. But exhaustion wins. He's out in minutes. Wakes at midnight. Exactly midnight. He should try to go back to sleep. That's what modern sleep science says. But medieval people didn't care about modern sleep science. They woke in the middle of the night as naturally as they woke in the morning. Used the time for prayer, for quiet contemplation. Marcus gets up, goes to the kitchen, doesn't turn on the lights, sits at the table in the dark, thinks about Margaret. She used to wake up at night too, called it insomnia, something to fix. She'd lie there willing herself back to sleep, getting frustrated when sleep wouldn't come. What if it wasn't insomnia? What if it was just biology? He sits for an hour, doesn't work, doesn't read, just sits. Around 1:30, exhaustion returns. He goes back to bed, sleeps until 6, wakes feeling different, not rested exactly, but less jagged. Eli's already up, in the kitchen, looking at the coffee pot like it's a puzzle. It's the switch on the left. Eli flips it. The machine gurgles to life. You sleep okay? Yeah, actually, yeah. First time in months I didn't wake up feeling like I got hit by a truck. They have breakfast again. Toast this time, but together, at the table. Marcus hasn't eaten breakfast with another person since Margaret died. At 10, Naomi arrives. She drives a Subaru that's seen better days. Probably saw them in 2003. She gets out. Tall, gray hair pulled back, wearing field clothes. Marcus? Naomi. They shake hands. Firm, professional. This must be Eli. Eli nods, shakes her hand too. He knows about the site, knows we're going to look at something, doesn't know what yet. Naomi grins. Good, I hate spoiling surprises. The drive takes 40 minutes, up into the mountains, roads that stop being paved. They park near the old Thornton property, house collapsed, barn mostly collapsed. The structure's about 200 yards that way. Naomi points into the trees. Survey team marked it. They walk. Forest closes in, pine, aspen. Then they see it. Someone set up a work tent. Basic excavation equipment, ground penetrating radar readout printed and tacked to a board, and a hole carefully dug, exposing stone. Marcus stops, stares, cut stone, fitted stone, the kind of stonework that requires knowledge and skill. He kneels, touches it. The surface is smooth, worn, old. This is Roman. Naomi kneels beside him. I know. This can't be Roman. I know. Roman's never. I know, Marcus. I know. But look at it. Marcus runs his hand along the stone. His brain races through possibilities. Elaborate hoax, modern construction using Roman techniques. But the wear patterns are wrong for modern. The stone itself is wrong. The oxidation, the weathering. This is old, centuries old. How deep does it go? Radar suggests it continues down another 15 to 20 feet, multiple chambers, and Marcus, there's an inscription. She leads him around the edge, points to a section of wall just visible at the bottom. Latin, carved into stone, weathered but legible. Requies est medicina. Rest is medicine. Marcus feels something crack open in his chest. He's spent 40 years studying texts about rest, reading about it, writing about it, teaching it. But this is physical, real. Stone carved by hands that believed rest was important enough to immortalize. There's more. Naomi climbs down into the excavation. Careful, testing each foothold. Marcus follows. Eli stays up top. At the bottom, Naomi brushes dirt away from another section. More text. Marcus reads it out loud. Corpus sine requie moritur, anima sine requie perit, civitas sine requie cadit. Eli calls down. What's it say? Marcus translates. The body without rest dies. The soul without rest perishes. The civilization without rest falls. They stand there, 3 people in a hole in Montana looking at Roman stonework that shouldn't exist. Finally, Eli says, so what do we do? Naomi looks at Marcus. Marcus looks at the inscription. We dig, we document, we figure out what this is. They climb out, stand in the Montana forest looking at impossible stone. Naomi pulls out her phone, takes photographs, already planning. How long will excavation take? Full excavation months, maybe years, but preliminary work 2 weeks to expose the main structures. Can I help? Naomi raises an eyebrow. Since when do you do field work? Since I realized I've been writing about the past without ever touching it. You know it's physical labor, right? Digging, hauling. Medieval peasants did it. I can manage. She grins. All right then. We start tomorrow. They drive back as the sun starts to set. Finally, Eli says, that really shouldn't be there, should it? No, Marcus says, it really shouldn't. So why is it? That's the question. That night, Marcus doesn't try to work on the memoir. Instead, he pulls out his research. Boxes of it, articles, papers, books, notes from 40 years. Eli helps him carry boxes to the dining room table. What are we looking for? Patterns, connections, anything about Roman bath culture, medieval rest practices, how pre-industrial societies structured time around rest rather than work. They work in silence. Marcus reads, takes notes. Eli does the same, slower, less sure, but trying. Around midnight, they both stop. Not because they're done, because biology says it's time. 2 sleep cycle, Eli asks. Might as well try it. They go to their rooms. Marcus sleeps, wakes at 1. There's light under Eli's door. He knocks softly. Come in. Eli is sitting up in bed, reading one of Marcus's papers. Medieval feast days, economic impact and social function. Can't sleep. No, I'm awake. On purpose. Like those medieval people. Figure if I'm going to have insomnia anyway, might as well call it historically accurate. Marcus sits in the chair by the window. What are you reading? Your paper about feast days. How medieval people had like 100 days off per year. How they structured it so work happened in intense bursts followed by mandatory rest. How nobody felt guilty about stopping because stopping was built into the calendar. Eli sets the paper down. Do you ever wonder if we're the weird ones? Like maybe they had it right and we got it wrong. Marcus looks out the window. Dark Montana night, stars visible. Every day, For 40 years, every single day. Then why didn't you change anything? The question is simple. The answer isn't. Because changing is hard. Because the system we're in rewards not changing. Because stopping feels like failure even when you know intellectually it isn't. He pauses. And because I didn't know how to change. Still don't. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the bathhouse is teaching us. What? That rest isn't something you figure out intellectually. It's something you practice, Mom. They sit in the quiet. After a while, Eli says, I'm glad I called you. I'm glad you did too. Around 2, they both go back to bed, sleep until morning. The next day, they return to the site. Naomi is already there, has been since dawn. She has coffee, real coffee, in a thermos probably older than Eli. Ready to dig, Joe? Marcus nods, takes the gloves she offers. The work is exactly as hard as promised. Physical, demanding, the kind of labor Marcus hasn't done in decades. They dig carefully, document everything, photograph each layer. By noon, Marcus's back aches. His hands hurt despite the gloves. He's sweating in October mountain air. He's also more present than he's been in years. There's something about physical labor, about having a simple task with a clear goal. It occupies the body in a way that quiets the mind. They break for lunch. Sandwiches Naomi brought. They sit on the ground eating. Tell me what you're thinking, Naomi says. Marcus chews, swallows. I'm thinking this is more extensive than it should be. A bathhouse requires infrastructure, water source, heating system, drainage. If this is real, there's an entire complex here. I know. Which means this wasn't casual. This was planned, built with intention. I know. By people who shouldn't have been here. Naomi grins. Now you're getting it. They dig for another 4 hours. As the sun starts to set, they expose a second chamber. The stone is different here, carved with patterns. Geometric designs Marcus recognizes from Roman bath complexes. But there's something else. Other symbols, not Roman. He calls Naomi over, points. She stares, pulls out her camera. Those are indigenous, North American indigenous, similar to Lakota or Blackfeet geometric patterns. Marcus kneels, touches the stone. The Roman carving and indigenous patterns are integrated, not added later. Integrated. This changes everything, he says. Eli, covered in dirt, asks how to. Because if this is real, it means contact, exchange, cultural blending that we have no record of. Impossible, Eli says. Yeah, Marcus agrees. Absolutely impossible, which is why it's fascinating. They cover the excavation for the night, drive back in the dark. Eli falls asleep in the back seat. The sleep of someone who used their body and earned the rest. Marcus and Naomi ride in silence until she says, you're different. How so, bro? You're here, present. I've known you 30 years, Marcus. You're usually thinking about 12 things at once. Right now, you're just here. He considers this. Physical labor. Harder to think about abstract problems when your body is demanding attention. Medieval peasants figured that out. They figured out a lot of things we forgot. She drops them off, promises to return tomorrow. Marcus carries Eli inside. Kid doesn't even wake up. Marcus goes to his study, looks at the memoir. 2 sentences, sits down, writes a third. I found a Roman bathhouse in Montana. It should not exist. I'm digging it up anyway. Some things are worth investigating even when they're impossible. He goes to bed at 9, sleeps, wakes at 1, makes tea, sits in the dark kitchen, thinks about Margaret, wishes she were here. The house is silent but not empty. Eli's asleep down the hall. The research is spread across the dining room. The bathhouse is waiting. Marcus has spent 5 years in a house that felt like a tomb. Tonight it feels like a home. He sits until 2, goes back to bed, sleeps until dawn. The rhythm becomes familiar. Wake at 6, coffee, breakfast with Eli, drive to the site, dig until noon, break, dig until 4, document, cover, drive home. 5 days in, and Marcus's body stops protesting. The ache in his shoulders becomes background noise. The calluses on his palms thicken. Eli changes too, gets color back, stops checking his phone every 10 minutes. On day 6, they expose the 3rd chamber. Naomi calls a halt as soon as the first stones appear. Different configuration. The chamber entrance is sealed deliberately. We need to be careful here. Sealed chambers mean intention. They work slowly, remove stones one at a time. It takes 3 days to open the entrance enough to see in. Marcus shines his flashlight through the gap. The beam catches stone, carved stone. There's something in there. Naomi looks. Her breath catches. We need better light. She pauses. We should stop and bring in a full team. But if we stop, this becomes bureaucratic nightmare. Could be years. Marcus understands, knows academic politics. We have 3 more days before the owner expects a preliminary report. What can we learn in 3 days? Naomi grins. Let's find out. They widen the entrance. Another day of work. By evening, the opening is large enough for a person. Nobody suggests waiting until morning. Naomi goes first. She disappears into the dark. Her voice echoes back. Oh my God. When Marcus's heart rate spikes. Naomi, you okay? Fine, I'm fine, but Marcus, you need to see this. He goes next, squeezes through, then he's inside. His flashlight sweeps the chamber. Stone benches along the walls. Carved. Fitted. The floor is intact. Mosaic tile. Geometric patterns. Roman designs interwoven with indigenous patterns. And the walls. The walls are covered in inscriptions. Latin. But also something else. Symbols Marcus doesn't recognize. Naomi's flashlight joins his. I don't even know what this is. Marcus moves closer to the nearest inscription. Reads, Tres sustinent populum requies sacra, labor honoratus, stercus dignum. Translation, 3 things sustain a people, sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste. Eli squeezes through, stops, stares. There are more inscriptions, Naomi says. This whole chamber is text, like a library carved in stone. They spend an hour documenting, photographing every surface. Marcus moves to a section where the Latin is clearer. Reads aloud. We came seeking gold, found something better. The people here understand what Rome forgot. That rest is not reward for labor. Rest enables labor. That waste is not shame to be hidden. Waste is cycle to be honored. Who wrote this? Eli's voice is quiet. Someone who knew both worlds. Someone Roman who encountered indigenous knowledge and recognized its value. Naomi is photographing the ceiling. Marcus, look up. He does. The ceiling is carved too, a calendar, circular, divided into sections. Marcus counts, does the math. It's a rest calendar. The Roman sections mark 156 days. The symbol sections mark 13 periods, lunar cycles. 13 moons, Eli says. That's a lot of indigenous North American calendars. They stay in the chamber until midnight, taking photographs, making sketches. Finally, Naomi says, we should stop. Come back tomorrow with better equipment. Bunny. They climb out, seal the entrance temporarily. The drive back is silent, overwhelmed silent. At the house, Eli goes straight to bed. Marcus and Naomi sit at the kitchen table. Coffee that's probably too late, but they drink it anyway. What do you think it means? She asks. I think it means we're missing huge chunks of history, contact we didn't know about. Or it's an elaborate hoax. You believe that? Marcus drinks his coffee. No, which means I have to believe the impossible thing. Naomi nods. Welcome to archaeology, where you're always wrong, just hopefully less wrong than yesterday. She leaves around 1. Marcus doesn't try to sleep, goes to his study, pulls out everything he has on medieval rest calendars. Roman bath culture, indigenous timekeeping systems, spreads it all out, looks for connections. The medieval calendars fascinated him in graduate school. 100 to 150 days per year designated as feast days. Mandatory rest built into the social fabric. Historians usually explain it as religious control. But Marcus never bought that. The economics don't work. Unless rest enables productivity, unless bodies need regular stopping to function over decades. The Romans understood this too. Bath culture, communal spaces dedicated to stopping, and the indigenous calendars. 13 moons, cycles that follow nature. Different cultures, different continents, different times, same understanding. Rest sustains, the bathhouse brings them together, proves they knew each other, built something that honored all 3 approaches, Marcus writes, not for the memoir, just to process. The bathhouse is teaching me what I thought I knew but didn't understand. I spent 40 years studying rest as historical curiosity. But it's not historical, it's human, fundamental. He writes until 3, goes to bed, sleeps until morning. Day 10, they return with better equipment. Portable lights, a generator. They spend the morning photographing every inscription, creating detailed maps. Around noon, Marcus notices something. The inscriptions aren't random, they're organized. Sectioned. This is structured. This section is all about rest practices. This section is about labor. This section is about waste management. Naomi studies the wall. You're right, it's a manual. Someone documented their entire system. Eli is on the floor sketching the mosaic. He looks up. There's more chambers, right? Yeah, Naomi says. At least 3 more. What if each chamber is a different subject? Marcus and Naomi look at each other, then at Eli. That's actually brilliant, Naomi says. They spend the afternoon carefully opening the next chamber. This chamber is smaller. The walls are covered in diagrams, mathematical calculations, engineering schematics. This is the labor section, Marcus says. Look, these are work schedules, time calculations. The diagrams show optimal work periods followed by mandatory rest. 6 hours of intensive labor followed by rest. 3 days of work followed by 1 day of complete stopping. They had it figured out, Eli says, how to work without destroying yourself. One diagram catches Marcus's attention. It shows a day divided into segments. Work, communal meal, rest, work, communal meal, sleep, wake, quiet time, sleep again. They didn't fight biology, they worked with it. Naomi is examining another section. This shows athletic training, maximum 6 hours per day, divided into specific exercises, recovery time built in. Like the Greek athletes, Marcus says. They didn't train constantly. They trained smart. They document everything. The sun is setting when they finish. That night, Marcus can't stop thinking about the work schedules, the careful balance. He thinks about Margaret, her schedule. First one to school at 6:30, last to leave at 6, home by 7, then paperwork, emails, bed around midnight, up at 5:30. Repeat. Weekends she'd try to catch up. No feast days, no mandatory rest, just constant work punctuated by bare minimum sleep. Her body warned her. High blood pressure, fatigue, headaches. She went to doctors. They gave her medication, told her to reduce stress. She nodded, took the pills, kept the same schedule. Marcus did the same. Because the work was important. Students needed her. Research needed him. Except the work continues whether you're there or not. Someone else teaches the classes. Someone else runs the school. The only people who actually need you are the ones you ignore while doing the important work. Eli appears in the kitchen. 2 in the morning. Marcus has been sitting in the dark. Can't sleep. Awake on purpose. 2 sleep cycle. Eli gets water, sits down. Finally, Eli says, I've been thinking about the work schedules. 6 hours max, regular breaks. Yeah, I was doing like 18 hours a day at school, telling myself it was temporary, just until I established myself. Then I could rest. He drinks his water. But there was always something else. The rest kept getting pushed further into the future, until my body just said no. Marcus knows this pattern, lived it. The medieval people weren't smarter than us. They just didn't have the option to ignore their bodies. No artificial light, no caffeine to override exhaustion. So they built rest into the structure, made it mandatory. You think we need to remove the choice? I think if you give people the choice between rest and productivity, productivity wins. Because productivity is measurable, rest is invisible. Marcus considers this. So the bathhouse builders removed the choice. Yeah, they said rest is sacred, labor is honored, waste is dignified. All 3 are mandatory. We'd call that restriction. Would we? Or would we call it wisdom? They sit with that. Around 3, they both go back to bed. Day 11, they open the 3rd chamber. This one is different. The walls are smooth, polished, covered in detailed drawings, sanitation systems, water management, waste disposal. They really did it, Naomi says. A whole chamber about shit. Eli laughs, but Marcus sees the sophistication, the engineering knowledge. This is advanced. Look, separated water systems, clean water here, wastewater there, drainage that uses gravity. Like the Indus Valley, Naomi says. 4,000 years ago, they had indoor plumbing. And it's integrated with everything else. The wastewater from the baths goes to these gardens. Solid waste gets composted. It's a closed system. One inscription catches his attention, larger than the others. Civilitas mensuratur non in aedificando sed in removendo. Civilization is measured not in building up, but in carrying away, he translates. They spend hours documenting the sanitation systems. They understood, Marcus says, that how you handle waste says everything about a society, who does the work, how it's valued. The walls show different approaches: Roman sewers, Chinese night soil collection, indigenous waste integration with agriculture. This is a teaching tool, Naomi says. Someone built this to preserve knowledge. By evening, Marcus's mind is full. He needs to move. I need to walk, clear my head. He walks into the forest, sits on a fallen log, thinks about Margaret again. She died at loading a dishwasher, the most mundane task imaginable. And Marcus was at a conference talking about communal meals. The irony would be funny if it weren't devastating. He sits until dark, then walks back. Naomi and Eli are at the house, made dinner, set 3 places. Communal meal, Eli says. They eat together, talk about the day's discoveries. It's simple. 3 people sharing food. But Marcus feels something shift, a small adjustment toward balance. After dinner, he goes to his study, looks at the memoir. 4 sentences now. He adds a 5th. Margaret died alone because we forgot how to be together. The bathhouse is teaching me what we lost. Day 12, they finish documenting the 3rd chamber, start opening the 4th. This one takes longer. The seal is more extensive. Why seal some chambers and not others, Eli asks. Preservation, maybe, or importance. They work carefully. By late afternoon, they've opened a gap large enough to see inside. Marcus shines his light through. Oh, what? Naomi pushes closer. Oh, what? Eli's impatient. Books, Marcus says. Stone books. The chamber is full of carved stone tablets, stacked, organized. They widen the entrance, squeeze inside, stand surrounded by stone knowledge. Marcus picks up the nearest tablet, reads. This is a medical text, herbal remedies, treatment protocols. Naomi has another. Agricultural, planting schedules, crop rotation. Eli finds a smaller tablet, newer looking. This one's different. Personal, maybe. Marcus takes it, reads. His breath catches. It's dated 1793, written in English. What's it say? Marcus reads aloud. Found the old place today. The one the Blackfeet elders told me about. Stone rooms built by people who came before. People from across the ocean who learned from the people here. Built something together. Knowledge shared. The rooms teach what my people forgot. That rest is sacred. That work has limits. That waste is part of the cycle. I'm copying what I can. Someone should remember. Silence. Then Eli says, someone found this place 200 years ago, and we still forgot. Yeah, Marcus says, we did. They spend the next 2 days documenting every tablet. The knowledge is staggering. Medical treatments, agricultural practices, building techniques, social structures, all showing the same understanding. Humans have limits. Work with them, not against them. One tablet talks about training warriors, maximum 6 hours per day, 3 days on, 1 day off. Strength and endurance balanced with recovery. Same as the Greek athletes, Marcus notes. Another tablet discusses governance. Communities gathering during feast days, using rest time for social organization. They used rest time for politics, Naomi says. That's genius. Democracy requires thinking. Thinking requires rest. The last tablet they examine is different. Personal. Same hand as the 1793 journal. My father worked himself to death. Cleared land from dawn to dusk. Every day. No rest. Heart gave out at 42. I was 12. Swore I'd be different. But here I am, 50 years old. Working myself sick clearing the same land. Would have died the same way except I found this place. The stone rooms taught me what my father never learned. That the land needs rest. That bodies need rest. I'm stopping now. Finally, late but not too late, someone reading this, stop sooner. Don't wait. Don't be 50 before you learn. Just stop. Marcus sets the tablet down gently. How old are you, Grandpa? Eli asked quietly. 67. How old was Grandma when she died? 62. How old are you planning to be when you finally stop? Marcus doesn't answer. Can't answer. That night back at the house, Marcus doesn't try to work. Instead, he sits with Eli. They drink tea. I need to tell you about your grandmother, Marcus says. Eli waits. She was brilliant, funny, dedicated, loved teaching, gave everything to that job, her health, her time, her life, and I let her. Encouraged her even, because I was doing the same thing. We validated each other's workaholism. He drinks his tea. She died loading a dishwasher, alone, while I was at a conference talking about communal meals. What would you do different? Everything, nothing, I don't know. The system we were in rewards what we did. You can't change from inside it. Is it failure leaving? Marcus thinks about the bathhouse. The person who wrote that final tablet. No, leaving isn't failure. Staying until you die is failure. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I think the bathhouse is showing me. Day 14. They finish documenting the library chamber. 5 chambers total. Naomi has enough documentation to keep researchers busy for years. What happens now, Eli asks. Now I contact the university. This becomes an official site, full team. Will you lead it? She looks at Marcus. That depends. You interested? Marcus thinks about it. Years of excavation, important work, career-defining work. Also years of exactly what killed Margaret. What broke Eli? No, he says. I'll consult, help with analysis, but I'm not leading another multi-year project. Naomi nods. Fair, I'll handle the bureaucracy. They seal the chambers. All of them. Protect them until official excavation begins. Stand in the Montana forest looking at a Roman bathhouse that shouldn't exist. 3 pillars, Marcus says. Sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste. We removed all 3, Eli observes. Yeah, and we're collapsing. Can we get them back? Marcus looks at his grandson. I think so. The bathhouse proves people knew once. We can learn it again. They drive home. Last time before it becomes official. At the house, Naomi stays for dinner. They cook together. Simple food, but together after Marcus goes to his study, opens the memoir. He writes, not forcing it, letting it come. The bathhouse taught me in 2 weeks what I couldn't learn in 40 years. That rest isn't something you earn. Rest is what makes work possible. That labor is honored when it has limits. That waste is dignified when we acknowledge it's part of life. These aren't revolutionary ideas. They're ancient ideas. We forgot. I forgot. Margaret died from my forgetting. Eli almost did too. I'm trying to remember now. The bathhouse is showing the way. He writes until 1, stops, goes to bed, wakes at 2, sits in the quiet, thinks about patterns. The bathhouse appearing when he needed it. Eli calling when Marcus was stuck. Around 3, he goes back to sleep. Dreams of stone chambers. Wakes at 6. Feels different. Not rested exactly, but less fractured. Finds Eli in the kitchen, making coffee, toast. They eat together. Plan the day. Not work day, rest day, mandatory stopping after 14 days of digging. What do people do on rest days, Eli asks. Whatever they want, as long as it's not work. That's weirdly hard. Yeah, that's the training. Fighting against biology. They spend the day not working. Walk in the forest, sit by the creek, read books that aren't research. It's harder than Marcus expected. His mind keeps reaching for tasks, but he resists, practices stopping. By evening, something shifts. The guilt fades, the restlessness settles. They make dinner together. 3rd communal meal in a row, starting to be pattern. After Marcus returns to his study, not to work. To look at what he's built over 40 years. 17 books, hundreds of papers, all explaining how people used to rest. None of it changing his own behavior. He thinks about impact, legacy, what matters. The books will survive. Other scholars will build on it. But Eli is here now, learning, getting a chance to do it differently. That matters more. He goes to bed at 9, sleeps through both cycles. First time in weeks, solid sleep, wakes at 6, feels something he hasn't felt in years. Rested. 3 weeks after they seal the bathhouse, Marcus gets an email. Not the university offer he expected, something else. From James.Kowalski at Harvard.edu, subject, Montana Discovery. Marcus, word travels fast in our field. Heard about your bathhouse find. Remarkable if true. Impossible if true. Either way, I need to see it. I'm writing a book on pre-Columbian contact theories. This could be the evidence that changes everything. Or the hoax that embarrasses everyone. I'll be in Montana next week. We should talk. James Marcus stares at the screen. James Kowalski, Harvard. They went to graduate school together 30 years ago. Both studied under the same advisor. Both competed for the same positions. James won most of those competitions. Better credentials, better publications, better political instincts. They haven't spoken in 5 years. Not since James published a paper contradicting Marcus's research on medieval labor practices. Called it romantic historicism untethered from economic reality. Marcus had wanted to respond. Margaret told him to let it go. You can't win against Harvard, she'd said. Just do your work. He'd listened, did his work. Watched James's career ascend while his plateaued. And now James wants to see the bathhouse. Marcus should say no, should protect the discovery, wait for official excavation. But part of him wants James to see it, wants to prove that the romantic historicism was right, that pre-industrial societies understood something modern economics missed. He replies, James, the site is sealed pending university excavation, but I can show you the documentation. Come Tuesday, we'll talk. Marcus Tuesday arrives cold. First real Montana winter weather, snow threatening. James pulls up at 10 in a rental car. Same James, tailored coat, leather bag. The look of someone who's never doubted his place in the world. Marcus meets him at the door. Marcus, you look different. Been doing physical labor, changes you. They shake hands, professional, cool. This is my grandson Eli. James nods at Eli, dismissive, the way academics dismiss anyone without credentials. They sit in Marcus's study. Marcus spreads out the photographs, the documentation, the inscriptions. James examines everything, silent, thorough. Finally, he says, if this is real. It's real, man. You understand what this means. Romans in Montana, indigenous European contacts centuries before Columbus. This rewrites everything. I know. When does excavation begin? University team starts in spring. Naomi Rourke is directing. James looks up. Naomi, she's competent, but Marcus, this needs a major institution. Harvard has resources, funding, international connections. We could assemble the best team, publish in the top journals. This should be the defining archaeological discovery of the century. Marcus hears it, the shift from your discovery to the discovery. The way James is already imagining how to claim it. Naomi's doing it. I'm not saying she's not capable. I'm saying this is bigger than a regional university can handle. You need proper support. We have proper support. James sits back, studies Marcus. What's going on with you? You find the most important site in North American archaeology, and you're what? Content to let it be a small operation. I'm content to let it be done right, sustainably, by people who understand what it's teaching. What it's teaching, Marcus, it's stone. It teaches what we interpret it to teach. It teaches that rest is essential, that work has limits, that civilizations fall when they ignore those limits. James almost smiles, still the romantic, still believing medieval peasants had it all figured out. They had some things figured out, things we forgot. They also died at 30, from diseases, from famines, from the very systems you romanticize. Different problems, different solutions, but the rest calendar worked, the communal structures worked, the integrated waste management worked. We have the evidence. James stands, walks to the window. I'm going to be direct. I want in on this. Co-author on the publications. Access to the site, my name attached to the discovery. No, no, this isn't about credentials or publications or whose name goes first. Then what's it about? Marcus thinks about Margaret, about Eli collapsed in a library, about himself unable to finish a memoir because he couldn't stop working. It's about actually learning what the bathhouse is teaching, not just studying it, learning it, living it. James shakes his head. You're wasting this. You know that you could leverage this into book deals, speaking tours, endowed chairs. Instead, you're what? Playing farmer in Montana. I'm resting. For the first time in 40 years, I'm actually resting. And when you're done resting, what then? Then I'll keep resting, because rest isn't a phase, it's how humans are supposed to live. James picks up his bag. I'm disappointed, Marcus. I thought you'd want to maximize the impact of this discovery. I do, just not the way you mean. At the door, James pauses. When this goes public, you'll get offers, big offers. I hope you'll reconsider. I won't. James leaves. Marcus watches him drive away. Eli appears. He seemed intense. That's one word for it. You think he'll try to take credit? Probably, but that's not my problem anymore. 2 days later, the university calls. The voice on the phone is young, enthusiastic. The new archaeology department chair. Dr. Aldridge, I'm calling about the Montana site. We'd like to discuss directing the excavation. Marcus's stomach tightens. I thought Naomi Rourke was directing. Dr. Rourke will be co-director, but we'd like you to lead. Your expertise in pre-industrial labor systems is exactly what this project needs. Here it is, the offer he knew was coming. What would that entail? On-site presence, minimum 30 hours per week. Graduate student supervision. Grant writing. Publication coordination. Conference presentations. Committee work. Estimated 5-year commitment. Possibly longer depending on site complexity. Marcus does the math, 30 hours minimum, which in academic terms means 50, plus travel, plus the administrative burden, plus the pressure to produce results. 5 years. He'd be 72 when it finished. If it finished. Margaret died at 62. What's the salary? 200,000 base, plus benefits, research budget, travel allowance. It's a good offer, a great offer. The kind that validates a career. I need to think about it. Of course, we'd need an answer by end of month. This is Dr. Aldridge. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. He hangs up, sits at his desk, looks at the memoir, almost finished now, thinks about what opportunity of a lifetime means. That night, he talks to Eli. They offered me the bomb, directing the excavation. You going to take it? What do you think I should do? Eli considers. I think you should ask yourself what Grandma would say. She'd tell me to take it. Would she really? Or is that what she would have said before she understood what saying yes customs? Marcus doesn't answer. The bathhouse taught you something, Eli continues, about limits, about balance. You take this job, which pillar are you removing? I could structure it differently, build in rest time. Could you, or would it be like every other job you've ever had? Marcus picks up the offer letter, scans the requirements again. The bathhouse calendar flashes through his mind. 6 hours maximum labor per day, 3 days on 1 day off. This job is the opposite. I need to think about it. Okay. Eli turns to leave. Stops. Grandpa, you spent 40 years studying how to rest. 2 weeks practicing it. Which one actually changed you? The question hangs there, not the research, not the papers, not the books. 2 weeks digging, eating together, sleeping 2 sleep cycles, sitting in pre-dawn quiet. That changed him. He picks up his phone, calls the department chair. Dr. Aldridge, that was fast. I'm declining. Silence, then, I'm sorry, did you say declining? Yes, I'll consult on the project. 15 hours per week maximum, remote when possible. Those are my terms. Marcus, this is the find of the century. Your expertise is essential. Yeah, my expertise is available on limited terms. Can I ask why us? Marcus looks out the window. First snow falling. Because I've spent my career studying people who understood balance, and I finally want to live like they did. The chair tries to negotiate, offers compromises. None of them address the fundamental problem. They leave it unresolved. The chair will present Marcus's counteroffer to the committee. Marcus knows they'll reject it. Find someone else, someone younger, more willing to sacrifice. He's okay with that. He calls Naomi next. You turned them down. Counteroffered, 15 hours a week, consulting only. They'll never accept that. I know. So you're really out? Yeah, he hears her smile. Good, you'd have been miserable. What about you? They offer you anything. Co-director, I accepted. Marcus feels something twist. Not jealousy exactly, more like phantom limb pain. Congratulations, you'll be brilliant. I will. And I'll structure it the way the bathhouse taught. 6-hour work days, mandatory rest schedule. We're going to excavate it sustainably. Revolutionary. Shouldn't be, but yeah. They talk logistics. How Marcus can contribute without being consumed. It feels right. Contribution without destruction. After he hangs up, Marcus sits with the decision, tests it for regret, finds none. That night, Eli makes dinner, said it's time to share the labor. They eat together, new rhythm established. I talked to Mom today, Eli says. Marcus's daughter, Rachel. They haven't spoken in months. How is she stressed, working 60 hours a week? Says she's up for partner, but it requires proving she can handle the workload. Marcus knows this story. What did you tell her? I told her about the bathhouse, about what we learned, about how Grandma died chasing the same thing. How'd she take it? Defensive at first, said her situation is different. Then she got quiet. Asked if I was okay, really asked. I told her yeah, because I stopped. And she said maybe she should visit. Marcus feels something warm in his chest, hope maybe. She's welcome, anytime. 2 weeks later, Rachel arrives. She looks tired, thinner than she should be, eyes that don't quite focus. Marcus sees Margaret in her, sees himself. He doesn't lecture, doesn't explain, just lives the rhythm, shows her the 2 sleep cycle, the communal meals, the work hours with limits. First 2 days she fights it, checks email constantly, takes work calls, apologizes for being unavailable. Third day she starts to settle, sleeps through first cycle, wakes at 1, finds Marcus and Eli in the kitchen. This is the middle of the night thing. 2 sleep cycle, pre-industrial norm. She sits, tentative. What do you do during this time? Nothing, everything, think, talk, exist. They sit in the dark, silent. Then Rachel says, I can't remember the last time I just sat, without working, without screens, without purpose. Yeah, Marcus says. I couldn't either, until the bathhouse. I'm killing myself, aren't I? Just like Mom. Yeah, probably, unless you stop. The partnership track. If I stop, I lose it. Is the partnership worth dying for? She doesn't answer. They sit in the quiet. By the end of the week, Rachel is sleeping both cycles, eating every meal with them, working maybe 2 hours a day, looking more alive. Last night, before she leaves, she says, I'm going to quit. The partnership track, maybe the firm. I don't know what comes next, but I know this isn't sustainable. Marcus doesn't tell her she's making the right choice. She knows. After she leaves, Marcus sits with Eli, thinks she'll actually quit. Yeah, she's stubborn like Grandma, but smart like Grandma. Once she decides something, she does it. The weeks pass, November slides into December. Marcus establishes new patterns, writes 3 hours in the morning, consults on the bathhouse 2 hours in the afternoon, stops every day. The memoir gets finished, not because he forces it, because it's ready. He sends it to a publisher, small press, they accept it, publication in 6 months. The university committee rejects his consulting terms, hires someone else to direct. Marcus feels no regret, just hope that they learn faster than he did. Then James Kowalski calls. Marcus, I heard about the university decision. I'm sorry. I'm not. Listen, I want to propose something, a collaboration. You have the expertise in pre-industrial systems. I have the resources. We could co-author a book, split credit, share the impact. Marcus almost laughs. You tried that 2 weeks ago. I said no. I'm being more generous now. Full co-authorship, equal billing. James, why do you want this so badly? Silence, then, because it matters. This discovery could reshape how we understand contact history, trade networks, cultural exchange. It's important. Or what? Or it's a high-profile project that could lead to more funding, more prestige, more leverage. Both can be true. They can, but I'm not interested in the prestige part anymore. Then what are you interested in? Marcus thinks about Margaret, about Eli, about Rachel flying back to DC to quit her job. Living differently, actually implementing what the bathhouse teaches. You can do both. No, I can't. I tried that for 40 years. It doesn't work. The work always expands. The rest always shrinks. You can't balance them. You have to choose. You're choosing rest over contribution. I'm choosing sustainable contribution over burnout. There's a difference. James is quiet for a moment. Then, what happened to you, Marcus? You used to care about impact, about legacy. I still do. I just changed my definition. Legacy isn't what you build. It's what you protect. Who you don't destroy while building. That's disappointingly small. Yeah, probably, but I'm still here. Margaret isn't. That matters more than any publication. James hangs up without goodbye. Marcus sits with the phone, thinks about the conversation. James will probably write the book anyway. We'll cite Marcus's work. We'll claim the bathhouse validates his theories. And Marcus is okay with that, because the work isn't the point anymore. The living is. Rachel calls in January. I did it. I quit. Partner track officially abandoned. She sounds different, lighter. How do you feel? Terrified, but good. I took a job at nonprofit. Half the salary, 40-hour weeks maximum, actually enforced. Mom would think I'm crazy. Mom would understand, eventually. I'm changing it for her, for me, for Eli, for whatever grandkids I might have someday. Good. I want to visit again, stay longer, see the bathhouse, learn the rest calendar, actually practice this stuff. Anytime. Guest room is yours. February brings Marcus's 68th birthday. He doesn't want celebration, just another day. But Eli insists. Rachel flies in. Naomi comes over. Frank, the neighbor, appears with pie. They have communal dinner. Simple food, good company, stories about Margaret, laughter, tears, presents. Frank says, "You're doing it different now. Used to see you working all hours. Now there's life here." Yeah, finally figured some things out. Margaret would be happy, angry you didn't figure it out sooner, but happy. Marcus laughs because it's true. March brings news from the excavation. Naomi calls. We found more chambers, 6 additional rooms, all sealed. Marcus, this is bigger than we thought. It's not just a bathhouse, it's a school, a library, a teaching center. When can I see it? Tomorrow if you want. Marcus goes, brings Eli. The site has transformed. Professional excavation now. Graduate students, equipment. But Naomi kept her promise. 6-hour workdays, mandatory rest schedule. The team eats together, stops together. She shows them the new chambers, each one dedicated to different knowledge. Agriculture, medicine, governance, all showing the same understanding. Work has limits, rest is essential. Waste is part of the cycle. One chamber is dedicated to teaching. The walls show pedagogical methods. The central inscription reads, Doce vivendo non verba tantum. Which, teach by living, not words alone, Marcus translates. Eli laughs. That's what you did. Finally. Stopped teaching about rest and started living it. They spend the day at the site, not working, observing, being present. Evening comes. They help prepare the communal meal. Team tradition. During dinner, a graduate student asked Marcus, is it true you turned down directing this project? Yeah. Why, this is career-making work. Marcus considers how to answer. Because I've had a career. 40 years, 17 books, and I almost died making it. My wife did die. My grandson almost did. At some point, you ask what legacy actually means. The student nods, thinking. The bathhouse taught me that rest isn't what you do after the important work. Rest is the important work. Makes everything else possible. April brings the memoir's publication. The rest I forgot 40 years studying what I couldn't practice. It gets modest attention. Some academic reviews. One NPR interview. Not bestseller material, just honest. The reviews are mixed. Some praise the honesty. Some criticize the lack of rigor. Marcus reads them all. Feels nothing. Not pride, not shame. Just completion. One review catches his attention. Small blog. Unknown reviewer. Aldridge spent 40 years as expert on historical rest practices. This memoir shows him becoming beginner at actually resting. The transformation from expert to beginner is the book's real contribution. We don't need more experts on rest. We need more people willing to be beginners at living differently. Marcus sends the link to Eli. This person gets it. Yeah, you're not selling expertise anymore. You're modeling learning. Better thing? Definitely. But 3 days later, another call comes. Not from the university, from someone Marcus hasn't heard from in years. His ex-wife's sister, Margaret's sister. Diane, Marcus, I need to talk to you about something, about Margaret. His heart rate spikes. What about her? I found something. Going through Mom's things after she passed. Letters from Margaret, written in the months before she died. What kind of letters? The kind where she knew. She knew she was working herself to death. She knew her body was breaking down, and she couldn't figure out how to stop. Diane's voice breaks. There's one letter, written 2 weeks before she died. She says she talked to her doctor. He told her if she didn't reduce her stress, she'd have a massive coronary within the year. She wrote, I don't know how to tell Marcus. He'll want me to quit. And I can't quit. The school needs me. The students need me, but I'm so tired. Marcus sits down, hard. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know. She didn't die because she didn't know better. She died because she couldn't figure out how to change. And I thought maybe that matters. To know it wasn't ignorance. It was being trapped. After Diane hangs up, Marcus sits in his study for an hour. Just sits. Margaret knew she was dying, couldn't figure out how to stop. The system trapped her, rewarded the behavior that killed her, punished any attempt to change. He thinks about Rachel, about how close she came to the same trap, about how she chose differently, barely, just barely chose differently. He thinks about Eli, about the panic attack in the library, about how that crisis became the interruption that saved him. He thinks about himself, about how he's still here only because Eli called, because the bathhouse appeared, because crisis forced change that knowledge couldn't. He goes to Margaret's photo on the shelf, the one from their wedding. Young, smiling, full of future. I wish you'd called me, he says to the photo. That night, or any night, I wish you'd said you couldn't do it anymore. I would have told you to stop. I would have stopped with you. We could have figured it out together. But she didn't call, didn't know how to ask for help, didn't know stopping was allowed. The system doesn't teach you to stop. It teaches you to push through until you can't. Marcus sits with that, the grief, the anger, the waste of it. Then he goes to his desk, opens the memoir file, adds a new section. I learned something today. Margaret knew she was dying, knew her body was breaking down, and she couldn't figure out how to stop. Not because she was stupid, because the system she was in made stopping impossible. It rewarded the behavior that killed her, punished any attempt to change. She was trapped, and she died trapped. I'm writing this for anyone else who feels trapped, who knows they're killing themselves but can't see a way out. The way out is to leave, entirely. The system won't change to accommodate your health. You have to leave the system. It will feel like failure. It will feel like giving up. It will feel wrong. Do it anyway, because staying kills you. Margaret proved that. Eli almost proved it. I almost proved it. The bathhouse taught us there's another way, but you have to be willing to leave everything you've built to find it. He saves the file, sends it to his editor. New section, final section. This is what the book needed. May brings news. James Kowalski published a paper. Pre-Columbian contact evidence, the Montana bathhouse discovery. He cites Marcus's documentation, uses the photographs, draws conclusions about Viking trade routes and indigenous knowledge exchange, gets it published in a top journal. International attention. Marcus reads it, finds it. Fine. Academically sound, well-researched. Missing the point entirely. James treats the bathhouse as historical curiosity. Evidence for contact theories. Completely ignores what it teaches about rest, about sustainability, about human limits. But that's James. That's the system. It takes knowledge and makes it abstract. Safe, academic. Marcus closes the paper. Doesn't respond, doesn't need to. The bathhouse will teach anyone willing to learn. Whether James learns or not isn't Marcus's problem. Rachel calls in June. I've been at the nonprofit 6 months. I'm happy, like actually happy. I wake up and don't dread the day. I eat lunch, I leave at I have evenings, weekends, a life. Good. The partnership I gave up. They gave it to someone else. She's already showing up in the hospital twice a week with stress symptoms. And I feel guilty isn't the right word. Sad maybe, that this is what success looks like. Yeah, but I'm also grateful that I got out before it killed me like it killed Mom. They talk for an hour. Just talk. No agenda, no rushing. The kind of conversation Marcus and Margaret used to have before they forgot how. July brings heat, Montana summer. Eli announces he's going back to school, University of Montana, archaeology program, starting in fall. Naomi's agreeing to advise. She's restructuring the program. Maximum 15 credits per semester. No all-nighters, mandatory stopping. How do students respond? Really well apparently, retention up, mental health issues down, grades actually higher. Marcus laughs. Turns out learning works better when you're not exhausted. Who knew? Medieval monks knew, Romans knew, we forgot, now we're remembering. August brings harvest. Frank's garden produces more than he can use. Brings vegetables to Marcus's house. Teaches Eli how to preserve them. Canning, freezing. The work is physical, immediate, satisfying. Eli takes to it, spends hours with Frank learning. Marcus watches them work. Sees Eli learning from someone who's not family, not teacher, just neighbor who knows things and shares them. This is how knowledge used to pass, through proximity, through shared work. The bathhouse probably worked the same way. September brings Rachel's visit. 2 weeks this time. She's different, calmer, present. The frantic edge is gone. They fall into rhythm. 2 sleep cycles, communal meals, work with limits. One morning she says, I think I'm starting to understand why you changed everything, why Eli dropped out, why Mom died the way she did. Marcus waits. The system we're in doesn't just reward constant work. It punishes rest, makes it feel like failure. You can't just take breaks within the system. You have to leave entirely. Yeah, that's it exactly. I left, but I'm terrified I'll slide back. That's why you practice, why you build structure. The bathhouse people didn't trust willpower. They built rest into the calendar, made it mandatory. How do I do that in DC, Marcus thinks. You create your own calendar. 6 hours work maximum. 1 day off per 3 days on. Communal meals, whatever works for you, but make it non-negotiable. And if my boss objects, then your boss objects, but you hold the line, because the alternative is becoming mom. Rachel nods, learning, becoming beginner at living differently. She leaves in September, takes the rest calendar Marcus created, promises to implement it. October brings the first cold snap. Winter approaching. Marcus sits in his study. The memoir has been out 5 months, sold 4,000 copies. Not huge numbers, but 4,000 people read about his learning. Maybe some of them start their own learning. He starts a new project, not a book, a teaching series. Videos, short ones, explaining the bathhouse, the rest calendar, the 3 pillars, not academic lectures, conversational, for people like Rachel, like Eli, like himself before the bathhouse. Eli helps him film. They use the kitchen, the forest, the bathhouse site when Naomi allows it. Nothing fancy, just Marcus talking, sharing what he's learned. They post the first one in November. Introduction to the rest calendar, what medieval monks knew that we forgot. It gets 200 views in a week. One comment reads, "I'm a doctor, work 80-hour weeks. Thought it was normal. This made me realize normal isn't healthy. Starting 2 sleep cycle tonight. Thank you." Marcus reads it 3 times, feels something warm, connection. They make more videos, 1 per week. The audience grows slowly. 500 subscribers, 1,000. Not huge, but steady. December brings the solstice, full year since the bathhouse. Marcus and Eli make it a tradition. Solstice evening, reflecting. "You're different," Eli says. "More here, less in your head." "I feel different, lighter, like I was carrying weight I didn't realize was weight." "What weight?" "Proving, always proving I was valuable through production. The bathhouse taught me I can just be." That's the rest thing, sacred rest, not rest you earn, rest that's sacred because you're human. He saw, yeah, took me 67 years to understand. They sit in comfortable silence. Then Eli says, "I'm going back to school, for real. Archaeology program," Naomi's advising. "I know, you told me." "No, I mean, I'm ready, actually ready, not forcing it, not proving anything, just ready to learn again." Marcus feels something, not surprise, acknowledgement. Good. January brings Marcus's 69th birthday. Quieter than last year. Him and Eli. Frank comes over. They eat. Tell stories. Rest. Marcus thinks about Margaret. Would be 67 if she'd lived. Same age he was when everything changed. He wishes she were here. Wishes she'd had chance to learn. But wishes don't change what happened. Eli is choosing differently. Rachel is choosing differently. The pattern is breaking. That's Margaret's legacy too. Her death taught them, showed them the cost of not stopping. February brings news. The university press wants a 2nd edition of the memoir. Add new chapter. 1 year later, what I've learned from actually practicing. Marcus agrees. Writes the chapter in 3 weeks. 3 hours a day. The chapter is honest. Talks about the struggles. The times he wanted to say yes to projects that would have consumed him. The guilt that still appears. But also the gains. The relationship with Eli rebuilt. Rachel changing course. The sleep that actually restores. Living the rest calendar doesn't solve everything. It just makes everything solvable. When you're arrested, problems are problems, not catastrophes. The chapter ends simply. Margaret died at 62 from not resting. I'm 69 and still here because I finally learned. Eli is 20 and building a life that doesn't require recovery. Rachel is 43 and course correcting before it's too late. The pattern is breaking. Not in stone this time, in bodies, in choices. In the daily practice of sacred rest, honored labor, and dignified waste. March brings the 2nd edition's publication. It sells better than the first, not because it's better written, because more people are ready to hear it. Marcus's videos passed 10,000 subscribers. Some email, share their stories. Doctor who restructured her practice. Lawyer who quit partnership track. Small changes, individual changes, but spreading. April brings Eli's acceptance to Montana Archaeology Program. Full scholarship. Research assistantship with Naomi. He's nervous, excited, ready. "You think I can do this?" "I know you can. You've already done the hard part. Learn to stop. The academics will come easy." "What about you? What's next?" Marcus looks around his study. The books, the research, 40 years of work. More videos, more writing, teaching people that rest isn't weakness. Maybe travel. See what other cultures figured out. You're not retiring. No, but I'm retiring from the kind of work that kills you, keeping the work that gives life. That's allowed. That's required. Honored labor means labor that honors you back. May brings the spring excavation season. Marcus visits monthly now. Naomi shows him the progress. More chambers, more knowledge. The team is thriving. 6-hour days. Rest calendar. Productivity is higher than traditional excavations. Other programs are watching, Naomi says, asking how we structure time, how we prevent exhaustion. You're changing the field. We're changing it. The bathhouse is changing it. They stand in the main chamber. The 3 pillars inscription. You know what I realize, Naomi says. This isn't just advice. It's physics. Energy in, energy out. You need both. Balance or the system collapses. That's simple, and that hard. Marcus nods, knows this truth. They sit, rest, just exist in the space where ancient people try to preserve wisdom. The sun sets. Montana sky turns impossible colors. Marcus watches, present, alive without proving it, thinks about what endures. Not the books necessarily, not the academic reputation, but this, the sunset, the company, the knowledge embodied and practiced. The bathhouse will be here long after he's gone. Teaching, showing, preserving. Eli will build a different life. Rachel already is. That endures. Not what you build, what you protect, what you pass on. The stone taught him that. The 3 pillars. Sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste. Remove one, everything collapses. Keep all 3, the system sustains. Simple physics, hard practice, necessary wisdom. He stands, helps Naomi secure the site, drives home as dark settles. Eli has dinner ready. They eat, share the day. Later, Marcus goes to his study, looks at the calendar on his wall, his rest calendar, 156 days marked. He's kept it all year, every rest day honored, every work limit maintained. The hardest thing he's ever done, and the thing that saved him. He writes one final entry in his journal. Year 2 begins tomorrow. The learning continues, the practice deepens. The bathhouse keeps teaching, and I keep being beginner. That's enough. That's everything. That's what endures. He closes the journal, turns off the light, goes to bed at 9, sleeps until 1, wakes, sits in the quiet dark, thinks of nothing, everything, sleeps again until dawn. The rhythm continues, the cycle sustains, the pattern holds, sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste, what the stone taught, what the body learned, what the life embodies. Simple, hard, true. 3 months later, Marcus gets a call he doesn't expect, from James Kowalski. Marcus, I need to talk to you, in person if possible. Something in James's voice is different, quieter, less certain. What's going on? I'm in the hospital, Seattle, heart attack, mild one, but can you come? Marcus drives 8 hours, arrives at Swedish Medical Center at midnight. James is in a private room, monitors beeping, looking older than 68, looking scared. Marcus, thank you for coming. Marcus pulls up a chair. What happened? I was giving a keynote at the Contact History Conference, middle of my presentation on the bathhouse discovery. Chest pain, thought it was indigestion. It wasn't. He looks at his hands. Doctor says I'm lucky, could have been massive. Said I've been running on stress hormones for so long, my body forgot how to function normally. Marcus knows this story, has lived it. What did they tell you to do? Reduce stress, exercise, eat better, the usual, and stop working so much. James almost laughs. I told him I'm in the middle of 3 book projects. I have graduate students depending on me, lectures scheduled through next year. And he just looked at me and said, you can do all that or you can live. Choose. Silence. Then James says, I thought about you, about how you turned down the excavation, how you walked away from the biggest find of the century. I thought you were crazy, wasting an opportunity. And now I'm lying in a hospital bed realizing opportunity doesn't matter if you're dead. He looks at Marcus. How did you do it? How did you walk away? Marcus thinks about how to answer, settles on truth. I didn't walk away from opportunity. I walked towards something else, toward actually living what I'd been studying, toward not becoming Margaret, toward showing Eli there's another way. But your career, your legacy, my career is 17 books nobody reads, My legacy is my grandson learning to rest before it kills him, and my daughter choosing life over partnership. That matters more than any publication. James closes his eyes. I don't know how to stop. I've been working 70-hour weeks for 40 years. It's who I am. It's what you do, not who you are. There's a difference, Erie. What if I stop and there's nothing left? What if work is all I have? Then you find out, and you build something else. But you do it alive. Marcus reaches into his bag, pulls out a copy of his memoir. Read this. When you're ready, it's about learning to stop. Not perfectly, just learning. He stands to leave. Marcus, can you help me figure this out? Marcus looks at James, his academic rival of 40 years, lying in a hospital bed, scared, alone. Yeah, I can help, but you have to actually want to change. Not just want to avoid dying, want to live differently. I think I do. Then we start simple. 2 sleep cycle, communal meals, work limits, the basics. The medieval stuff. The human stuff. Medieval people just didn't forget it. Marcus visits James 3 more times before James is discharged. They talk about the bathhouse, about rest calendars, about the 3 pillars. James listens, actually listens. For the first time in 40 years. When James is released, he calls Marcus. I'm taking a sabbatical, full year, doctor's orders, but also my orders. I'm going to Montana, to the excavation. Not to work, to learn. If Naomi will have me, I'll talk to her. Naomi agrees, with conditions. James can visit, can observe, can participate in communal meals and rest practices, but no working, no publishing, no trying to claim credit. James accepts. He arrives in Montana in June, fragile, uncertain, humbled, everything he's never been before. Marcus picks him up at the airport, drives him to the site. Naomi is waiting. Welcome. Rules are simple. 6 hours maximum at the site, not working, observing. Meals are communal, non-negotiable. Rest days are sacred. Questions? No, thank you for letting me come. The first week, James struggles, tries to analyze, to theorize, to turn observation into publication ideas. Naomi shuts it down every time. You're not here to work. You're here to learn. Second week, something shifts. James stops fighting it, starts participating, helps prepare meals, sits in the 2 sleep cycle quiet, asks questions about how to actually rest instead of how to study rest. By week 3, Marcus sees the change. James is present, here, not planning the next paper. One evening, the team sits around the fire. Communal dinner finished, just existing. James says, I spent 40 years convinced the work was what mattered. That publications, citations, reputation were the point. And I almost died having achieved all of it. He looks around. This, sitting here, eating with people, resting without guilt, this is what I missed. Marcus nods. Yeah, we all missed it, until we didn't have a choice. What made you change before the crisis? I didn't. The crisis made me change. Eli calling, the bathhouse appearing, my body breaking down. I didn't choose change. Change chose me. I just finally listened. So there's no other way. We have to almost die first. Maybe, or maybe. Maybe seeing someone else almost die is enough. Maybe my crisis can be your warning. Margaret's death can be Rachel's lesson. Maybe we learn from each other's breakdowns instead of requiring our own. James sits with that. I want to help when I'm better. I want to teach this, not as academic subject, as practice. Is that allowed? Marcus smiles. That's the only thing that's allowed. July brings news. The memoir's 2nd edition hits bestseller list. Not number 1, but top 20. For 3 weeks, more interviews, more invitations to speak. Marcus accepts some, declines most, accepts the ones that align with rest calendar, that allow him to teach by living not just words, declines everything that requires sacrifice, everything that asks him to prove dedication through exhaustion. August brings a letter from the university offering an endowed chair, the Margaret Aldridge Chair in Sustainable Work Practices, named after his late wife, honoring her memory by teaching what killed her. The irony is almost perfect. Marcus reads it, cries, then accepts. But with conditions. 10 hours per week maximum, no administrative duties. Focus entirely on teaching students how to work sustainably. They agree. He starts in September. 1 class. Living the Rest Calendar, Pre-Industrial Wisdom for Modern Life. 20 students, mixed ages. all burned out, all looking for different way. First day, Marcus says, this class meets 6 hours per week. No homework, no exams, no papers. We practice. That's it. You'll learn 2 sleep cycle, communal meals, work limits, seasonal rhythms, not by studying them, by living them. One student raises her hand. How do we get graded? You don't. You either practice or you don't. This isn't about performance. It's about survival. The class is different, revolutionary. Uncomfortable at first. Students struggle with not working, with just being, with rest that's not earned. But slowly they change, start sleeping better, eating together, setting boundaries. One student says, this is the first class I've taken where I feel more alive at the end than at the beginning. That becomes Marcus's measure of success. Not knowledge transferred, life restored. October brings Rachel's wedding. She met someone at the nonprofit. Someone who works 40 hours and goes home, who gardens and cooks and rests without guilt. Marcus walks her down the aisle, sees Margaret in her face, thinks about how Margaret would have loved this, would have loved seeing Rachel choose differently. At the reception, Rachel toasts, to my mom, who taught me what not to do by example, and to my dad, who taught me what to do by finally learning, and to Eli, who broke first and showed us all breaking is sometimes the bravest thing. Eli raises his glass, starting his second year at Montana, thriving, learning archaeology by day, teaching rest calendar to incoming students by night. James is there too, 6 months into his sabbatical, 40 pounds lighter, color back in his face, working on a book about learning to stop. Not as expert, as beginner. They eat, they dance, they rest. Marcus sits with Naomi, watches his family, his colleagues, his former rival. We did it, Naomi says. Change the pattern. Some of it, for some people. That's all you can do. Change what you can. Hope it spreads. November brings the first snow. The cycle turns. Winter approaches. Marcus is teaching. Eli is learning. Rachel is building. James is recovering. The bathhouse excavation continues. Slowly. Sustainably. Naomi runs it with 6-hour days and sacred rest. Knowledge spreads. Not viral, not explosive, just steady. One person telling another. One student teaching another. One former workaholic showing another there's different way. December brings the solstice. 2 years since the bathhouse. Marcus sits in his study, looks at what he's built. Not the 17 books, the relationships, the changes, the waves that didn't end the way Margaret's did. He writes in his journal, 2 years. Eli's thriving, Rachel's married, James is alive. I'm teaching students to rest. The bathhouse is being excavated sustainably. Margaret's memory is honored not by monument, but by changed lives. This is legacy, not what you build, what you protect, who you save, including yourself. He closes the journal, goes to bed at 9, sleeps until 1, wakes, finds Eli in the kitchen. Rachel's visiting. She's there too. James stopped by earlier, stayed for dinner, is asleep in the guest room. The house is full, alive, people resting together. Can't sleep, Rachel asks. Don't want to. This is the good time. They sit, 3 generations, one former rival turned friend, all learning the same lesson at different speeds. Marcus looks around his kitchen, thinks about Margaret, how she'd love this, how she'd be proud and angry and relieved all at once. I wish she were here, he says. She is, Eli says. This is what she would have wanted, for us to figure it out, to stop killing ourselves, to actually live. You think, I know, she loved us. She would have wanted this. They sit until 2. Then all go back to bed. Marcus sleeps until dawn, wakes feeling something he's felt increasingly often. Grateful, present, alive. The rest researcher finally at rest, not perfectly, not completely, but actually, really, truly at rest. Marcus is 73, retired from teaching, still making videos, still consulting with Naomi on the bathhouse. The excavation is complete. 6 years of sustainable work. Every person who worked on it left healthier than they arrived. The findings are published. International recognition, proof of pre-Columbian contact, evidence of cultural knowledge exchange, but more importantly, proof that sustainable work is possible, that you can do important things without destroying yourself. Eli is 25, PhD candidate, studying under Naomi, writing dissertation on sustainable archaeological practice lessons from the Montana bathhouse excavation. Rachel has 2 kids, works 30 hours a week. Volunteers teaching rest calendar to burned out professionals. James published his book, The Expert's Guide to Being a Beginner, Learning to Stop After 40 Years of Going. It's his biggest success, not academically, commercially. Regular people buy it, read it, change because of it. He visits Montana twice a year, helps Marcus with the videos, teaches occasional workshops. He's 73, alive, grateful for the heart attack that saved him. The bathhouse is now a protected site, small museum, educational center, run by a rotating team. 6-hour days, mandatory rest calendar. Thousands visit each year, come to see the stone, stay to learn the lessons. Marcus goes monthly, sits in the main chamber, reads the inscription. Tres sustinent populum requies sacra, labor honoratus, stercus dignum. 3 things sustain a people: sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste. He thinks about Margaret, about how it took her death to teach him to live, about how that's the tragedy and the gift, the tragedy that she didn't get to learn, the gift that her death taught others. One day, sitting in the chamber, Marcus has a visitor, young woman, early 30s, doctor's coat over street clothes. Dr. Aldridge, I'm sorry to interrupt. Not interrupting, just sitting. I read your book, both editions, and I needed to thank you. Marcus gestures to the bench. She sits. I'm a surgeon, was working 80-hour weeks. Thought it was normal, necessary, what the job required. Then I started having chest pains. I'm 32, no family history, perfect health, except I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating right, was running on coffee and adrenaline. She wipes her eyes. I read your book, about your wife, about your grandson, about you learning to stop, and I quit, took a position at a different hospital, 40 hours maximum. They thought I was crazy, but I'm alive, and I'm a better surgeon because I'm rested. Marcus nods. That's good. I'm glad. I wanted you to know that your wife, her death, it saved my life. That sounds terrible, but it's true. It doesn't sound terrible. It sounds like meaning, like her death wasn't just waste. It taught something. The woman stands. Thank you for writing the truth, for showing it's possible to change. She leaves. Marcus sits, thinks about Margaret, about legacy, about what endures. Not the 17 books, not the academic reputation. This, one surgeon learning to rest, one life saved because another was lost. That's what endures. That evening, Marcus goes home. Eli's visiting. Rachel and her family are there. James drove in from Seattle. They have communal dinner. Tradition now. Expected. Sacred. After they sit around the fire. Not talking, just being. Marcus looks at them, his family, his friend, when all alive, when all learning. Thinks about what the bathhouse taught. Not complex philosophy, simple physics. Energy in, energy out, balance, or the system collapses. They balanced. The system holds. I want to tell you something, Marcus says. They turn, wait, I've been thinking about stopping. The videos, the consulting, the occasional teaching, just stopping. You sure, Eli asks. Yeah, I'm 73. I've said what I need to say, done what I needed to do. Now I want to just rest. Actually rest, not productive rest, not rest that enables more work, just rest. Rachel smiles. What will you do? I don't know. Sit, walk, watch the seasons, exist without purpose beyond existing. That sounds good. James nods. That sounds perfect. They sit in the quiet, fire crackling, Montana night settling around them. Marcus feels complete, not finished. Complete. The work continues. The bathhouse teaches. The knowledge spreads. But his part is done. He can rest now. Really rest. The 3 pillars, sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste. He honored the labor. For 73 years, more than enough. Now for the rest. The sacred rest. The rest that's not earned but simply is. The rest that sustains, that heals, that makes life worth living. Marcus closes his eyes, feels the fire's warmth, hears his family's breathing, thinks one last time about Margaret. I learned, he whispers to her memory. Finally, completely, I learned. And for the first time in years, he feels her presence. Not grief, not loss, just her, saying what she would have said. About time. He smiles, opens his eyes, looks at Eli, at Rachel, at James, at the life they've built together. sustainably, with rest woven through like stone through ancient walls. Thank you, he says, for teaching me, for learning with me, for showing me it was possible. They don't ask what he means. They know. The pattern is broken. The cycle sustains, sacred rest, honored labor, dignified waste, simple, hard, true. What endures?